Hello, all. Welcome. Thank you for working with us through some technical difficulties with the speaker.
Hi again.
Welcome back, Philippa.
Hi there. Again, I've got this pulsating camera.
Without doing a little bit more extensive understanding of what's going on in your computer, I would say if you're okay with moving forward with audio only, that would be the best to make sure you use the most of your session.
Excellent. Okay. And the only other thing is that I've got a couple of videos that I'd like to share. So we'll figure out when I share screen if people can see that or not. Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll stick around, make sure that works.
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you. So I'm really excited to be connected with you all. I know that Kenise asked where you're from, and I will ask as well myself in a minute. But I just wanted to share a few key facts about human trafficking globally, and then we'll go into a session of actually how you guys can help end it. So it's the fastest growing and second largest criminal industry in the world. At present, 24.9 million people are being exploited and trafficked, and it creates $150 billion of profit through the use of forced labour by traffickers each year. And staggeringly, 1 in every 133 women and girls are living in modern slavery. I'm from the United Kingdom, and we have something called the National Referral Mechanism, which is run by the Home Office, which is a government department. And last year, 10,627 victims were rescued. But it's actually estimated there could be as many as 100,000 victims of modern slavery across the UK. And the social and economic cost of modern day slavery is believed to be 3.3 and 4.3 billion pounds. Trafficking and slavery manifests itself in different ways across the world, but the most common type of exploitation for both adults and minors in the UK is labour exploitation. In the US, 403,000 people were living in modern slavery last year. And again, it's estimated that 1 in 10 children in the US will be subject to sexual abuse or exploitation before the age of 18. Numbers are just horrific and shocking, and the problem is that actually it's happening in front of our eyes. Japan, we know, is a destination, source and transit country for men and women subject to forced labour and sex trafficking. In the Lebanon, it's estimated that there are nearly 500,000 migrant domestic workers who are in bondage slavery, and the list goes on. Anyway, this all sounds quite depressing, but there are things that we can do about this. So I was just interested to know where you guys are from around the world. Martin, I've just seen your question about the 1 in 10. Yeah, that was that's an estimation by NICMEC, one of the missing children charities in the States. But I think if you ask people that you know, many people will say, yes, things have happened to me. Anyway, let's find out where you guys are from, where you're calling in from. I know that before I dropped off, Khadis said that there was somebody from Kenya. So welcome.
Philippa, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but can you please give us the links of the video that you are going to share so that we can share those to our audience in the YouTube section?
Yeah, of course.
You want to email them to me, or you just drop the links in the chat box?
I'll just drop them in the chat box.
Okay, please do that in the mod chat. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hold on, everyone. I will respond to where you're all from in a moment. Sorry, this is just such a shame that the video is not working. So I've just done that, Cadiz. I've done 2. So, hi, I see one of you is from Germany. In Germany, it's estimated that the number of people living in modern slavery are 167,000. In Bangladesh,
Hi, Felipe. I can share that first one if you'd like me to.
okay. Well, sorry, this is going all over the place. Anyway, so what we do, it's a penalty. We work on awareness campaigns. So we believe that if people know what the problem is, they know how to spot it, and they're equipped with how to report it, we can actually make a difference and help save lives. Since 2014, we've been running awareness campaigns around major sporting events. So the Olympics, the NFL, FIFA, the Commonwealth Games. And we work very much in partnership with the travel and tourism industry, local law enforcers and NGOs in host cities. So how we have sporting stars, so people like Usain Bolt, Francois Pienaar, Gary Lineker, and they will be on the front of a 30-second film which will be shown on the airplanes as people arrive to go and see the sporting event. And what they do on that is they share the signs of what to look out for and how to report it. Those films are then also shown at the airports, where in the hosting cities of the sporting events, and also in some of the hotels. We work with partners on the ground. We train hotel staff of how to spot the signs, how to report it. We have partnerships with Uber and other ride shares. So we train the drivers again of how to spot any potential victims being trafficked. And we give rear view hang tags in their cars so that people could know the number to report it. And then we work with partners who can help rescue people if it is suspected. Since 2014, we've actually helped prevent nearly 17,000 cases of human trafficking and exploitation. So each campaign generally reaches about 150 million people worldwide. So we know that the power of awareness can help prevent human trafficking. But since we've been working in global sporting events, what we've realised is that people might have heard of human trafficking, but they're not exactly sure the details of it and what to look out for. So we've just started this new programme, the Student Ambassadors Network, and we're working with students at universities to train them into how to spot the signs. What the signs are, what the impact is on children, where human trafficking occurs, and actually what the victim's reality is. And then from that training, we go into more of the causes of it, the prevalence, the consequences of it, and into the patterns of grooming. After people have gone through the training, we also have, we really want to build your capacity in terms of how you can take action. So there's a whole module around campaigning, techniques for raising awareness, how you gain partnerships with others on the ground, working out who you can partner with to the biggest effect. and how to spot the signs and to share that knowledge with others. I think it's probably best now for you to see the film This Is Happening Now, which one of our students, Hannah, has just done as a result of going through the course that we've got. Are you able to share that?
You can see we have a question from Filippo. In Italy, about human exploitation, we have a lot of problems on corporal work, agricultural work paid €0.5 in particular in the south. And moreover, we have a huge increasement of precarious work, that means worker without any sort of labor right. What do you think about it?
We have very similar, we hear these stories all over the world, Filippo, you know, particularly at the moment with COVID and the pandemic. You know, people have lost their jobs, there's more vulnerability, and you know, traffickers, you know, are unfortunately preying on people more. What's really important is for those people that are in these situations to have the mechanisms to know who to help. So in Italy, you know, it's really important to find out the human trafficking helpline, and then you can
we can see another question coming from Anna. She has written that, how do you define modern slavery?
So human trafficking is a recruitment, transportation, transfer, harbouring or receipt of persons by the means of threat or use of force or other forms of coercion, of abduction, of fraud, of deception, of the abuse of power or of a position of vulnerability, or of the giving or receiving of payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person, having control over another person for the person of exploitation. So that's the UN's definition of human trafficking. Their definition of sexual exploitation is any actual or attempted abuse of position of vulnerability, differential power or trust for sexual purposes, including but not limited to profiting monetarily, socially or politically from the sexual exploitation of another. So victims are coerced into sex work or sexually abusive situations where they're exploited by perpetrators, often seeing many clients and receiving little or no money. Are you able to play the film now for everyone?
Welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time if you're new here. Today I wanted to talk a bit about something that's been on my radar for quite some time, but recently I've been really digging into it a bit more. And that's because in the last few months I've been taking part in a student ambassador scheme with a charity called It's a Penalty. And what It's a Penalty does as an organisation, what they're working towards is an end to human trafficking and exploitation. And the main way that they're going about trying to achieve this is through mass media campaigns around global sporting events, things like the Olympics, the Super Bowl, and the World Cup. So first, let me clarify what I mean by human trafficking and exploitation. Maybe that's something you're familiar with and you've heard about before. Maybe this is completely new to you. So human trafficking is the exploitation of people through forced labour or sexual exploitation by means of force, fraud or coercion, and it is a form of modern day slavery. Now that might be a surprise to you, slavery today. I thought that was something in the past that's been abolished, and unfortunately that just isn't the case. There are 40 million people trapped in slavery in the world today, with 24.9 million trapped as victims of human trafficking and exploitation. Yeah, it's horrific. And so human trafficking takes different forms, the main two being forced labor and sex trafficking. But there are also things like child online exploitation, which can often lead to trafficking. And this isn't something that just happens out there in other places in the world, but is happening here in the UK today. The government estimate that there are currently 13,000 victims of human trafficking currently in the UK. And it isn't just foreign nationals. Actually, the largest percentage of a group is British people, who make up 26% of human trafficking victims in the UK. Also, this isn't necessarily being moved miles or across borders. It can be something that happens very locally. And just to kind of flesh it out a bit, if this is all very new to you, and just to make it ground it a little bit, human trafficking can be, for example, girls and women being forced into prostitution by abusive partners or by organized criminals. Or it could be homeless people being offered a job only to find out that actually it comes with threats and no pay. There's a lot of things that are encompassed within human trafficking, and it's surprising when you research and you look into it, just how easily people can become victims of this. And I know this is quite a heavy thing to discuss and think about, but I think it's really important that we're aware of what's going on around us, especially when there are things that you can do to help. And that's really why I wanted to make this video today, is to tell you, to encourage you of what you can be doing to help victims of human trafficking. And primarily, the main thing that you can do is to be aware of the signs of human trafficking and exploitation. And if you see something that you think is suspicious, to report it. So I'm just going to quickly run through some of the signs of human trafficking and exploitation now. But I'd encourage you, maybe if this has piqued an interest, to maybe do some further research into it as well. And I'll leave lots of things linked in the description box below. So some of the signs of human trafficking are that victims may be easily startled or agitated or afraid. They may have untreated injuries or be unsure of where they are or lack official ID. They may look unkempt or malnourished. They might be living in dirty, cramped, or overcrowded accommodation. They may be accompanied by a suspicious companion. If they're children, they may be dressed up to look older than they are. And also they may be secretive about who they're talking to, what they've been doing, and what they've been doing online. So these are some of the signs to look out for of human trafficking and exploitation. And I'll leave places linked in the description box below where you can make a report if you see something suspicious. And I'd encourage you to not be afraid to do that if you think you've seen something. And I know this isn't the most fun video to watch, but it is really important, and it's not without hope as well, this situation. So for a bit of encouragement, for example, it's a penalty since 2014 when they started. 16,891 victims have been protected through their campaigns. That's really amazing. Like there are things that we can do by being aware of the signs of human trafficking. And as I've said, I'll just say it again, but I'm going to leave lots of things in the description box below for you to check out if you want to know more. And I also just wanted to let you know quickly that as part of this student
So that was Hannah, who's just undertaken the programme in the UK. And as part of her advocacy, she's gone on to the YouTube channel, but she's also going to be doing a workshop with other students at the university to get people to understand and know more what the signs are and how to report it. As well as that, in the UK, there's particularly with homeless people, they're very vulnerable to human trafficking. So they're going to be doing some outreach with homeless people in Cambridge and just make people aware that, you know, if somebody comes up and offers, you know, often people are offered the world like, you know, you can come and have a job, you know, we'll pay you well, there'll be accommodation. And when people are really desperate, then they think this is the great way, you know, that they, you know, they can get employment, etc. And then they find that they are entrapped. So they're doing lots of outreach in their own city. I think what's really important with this whole programme is that how we take people through it is to support you where you are in your own communities. So there's a big research piece of how it could manifest itself where you live, and then looking at what other players and partners are doing in that area and how best to address these issues. Anyway, I see there's lots and lots of questions. The first one I can see from Anna. Thank you for that, Anna. Maybe I've missed that. How do you define
Philippa, we have a question from the YouTube chat section. I would read that for you. Although human trafficking can happen to anyone, who, may I ask, is the most vulnerable or at risk of becoming a victim?
You know, that's a really difficult to answer. It depends in the world how people are. I mean, many people. So in the States, you know, there's a story of a young girl who was sexually assaulted. She thought that that was normal, and then she was groomed, and then she was taken and transported across the States and being trafficked, sexual exploitation. I think in rural countries around the world, particularly with the COVID impact and the increase of unemployment, people are, you know, desperately looking for work to be able to feed themselves and their family. So they could be vulnerable to people that are going to coerce them into forced labour. So I think poverty has a huge impact on it. Sexual abuse has a huge impact on it. And oftentimes it's rural communities as well. So, you know, with the dream of going to a city and getting a job, and then, you know, they are taken somewhere and just entrapped in slavery. So, yeah, it manifests itself in very many different ways. I think also what's really, you know, forced labour is the biggest modern slavery at the moment. And it is always that dream of, you know, having a good job to be able to provide for your family, because all of us have that desire in our hearts to look after, you know, our family, and people tap into those fears.
We have a question from Martin. He's asking that, how do you rescue people in slavery, and how do you protect these people from being tracked down by the abusers?
Yeah, okay, so what's really important, Martin, is that we work in partnership with law enforcers on the ground and other NGOs that provide safe houses for them. So again, like, this is part of the programme, is to work to enable people to understand how to work in partnership and collaboration, and to make sure that we're doing no harm with what we're, you know, our actions and our activism, and that we've got those systems in place. But again, if you suspect something, then it's really important to report it. So if you go onto the It's a Penalties website, there's a reporting tab, and then you can see wherever you are in the world, the numbers to report it.
We can see questions coming on the YouTube section. One has written that, do the victims always come from low income backgrounds?
Not necessarily, but it seems predominantly more so than high income backgrounds, yes.
Another question from Charles. He asked, what are the signs of human trafficking?
Okay, so they do vary around the globe, but the main signs are that victims may be easily startled, agitated, or afraid. They may not have eye contact with you. They're generally unsure of where they are and often lack any official ID. They are unable to explain any injuries or possessions. They will have unexplained hotel use. They could more often be accompanied by a suspicious companion. Children are often dressed up to look older than they are. They can be unkempt or living in accommodation with lots of other people, and secretive about who they're meeting, talking to, or what they're doing online. And I think that's really important at the moment in this world, with the scale and complexity and danger of online abuse is escalating. And some of the signs that people may be trying to groom you online are you're being sent lots of messages, you've been asked to keep your conversations secret from your family and friends. The groomers will try to find more about who uses your computer to work out if they could get caught by your parents or carers. They can start to send sexual messages or commenting on your appearance. So these are all red flags when you're interacting online. Also, they may start getting you to share personal information. And furthermore, they could threaten to share images of you with people they know online. So these are some of the online signs to look out for.
Another question from Shireen Aisha. She has asked, how has COVID increased the number of human trafficking cases?
So because human trafficking is very unseen and it's a criminal, we don't know the exact numbers, but what we do know is that COVID has increased people's vulnerability, and that the traffickers have been moving more online to try and exploit people. Particularly with people where there's been mass unemployment, people are taking advantage of that. So as vulnerability is increased, the traffickers are taking more advantage of it. Are there any more?
You wanted to, yeah, there are some. You wanted to play another video. You want it to play now?
Yeah, again, this will just... so lots of people have seen the film Taken, which starred Liam Neeson. And in it, his daughter was kidnapped and trafficked. And lots of people think that that is how people are trafficked. But it's actually more often different than that. I think the fact is most people are trafficked within their own countries and cities and coerced into exploitation, often by people they know. I think there's a myth that all traffickers and abusers are middle-aged men, but actually traffickers and abusers can be anyone willing to exploit another person for personal gain. And another myth is that you never come into contact with a trafficking victim. So this is why we teamed up with Liam Neeson to let people know the signs and how to report it. If you'd like to play the video now, that would be great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liam Neeson. Human trafficking is the fastest growing illegal global business, generating $150 billion each year. It is the second largest criminal industry in the world. Almost 25 million people are trafficked each year, and 1 in 4 victims are under the age of 18. Most of us would imagine that human trafficking involves someone being kidnapped, moved across borders, and exploited by strangers. This can be the case, but most people are trafficked within their own countries and cities and coerced into exploitation, often by people they know. During high-profile events and major sporting events, With the influx of hundreds and thousands of people into the hosting cities, exploitation can increase. People are trafficked for forced labor and sexual exploitation, regardless of age, background, or location. Traffickers may threaten their victims with violence or blackmail, take advantage of their vulnerability, or promise an opportunity for a better life in order to control them. Here are some of the signs to look out for. Victims may be easily startled, agitated, or afraid, unsure of where they are or lack official ID, unable to explain injuries or possessions, may have strange markings, brandings, tattoos, have unexplained hotel use, be accompanied by a suspicious companion. Children can be dressed up to look older than they are. If you're watching this and you are being exploited or you think you have seen something, then say something. Join our campaign. Together we can end exploitation and human trafficking. Thank you.
Philippa, we have a question from the YouTube chat. Can you explain more about non-organized exploitation, for example, by intimate partner pretending to start relationship, and psychological traits and characters of those offenders?
I mean, these people are really coercive, and you know, the pattern of grooming is that they befriend you, they think that, you know, they compliment you, that they reel you in, that they're this really special person in their life, and then suddenly, bit by bit, they start controlling you and making you feel, I think, they make you feel as though you're the person in the wrong, and they really impact your emotional well-being. And one of the biggest things is that they try to make sure that you don't share what's happening to you with anybody else. So again, you know, if somebody is asking you not to talk about the conversations, or is, you know, getting all of your personal information, these are real trigger points, and you've got to be very careful. I think, you know, it's that secretive about who you're talking to and asking you to keep your conversation secret is very controlling. And the most important thing, I think, is to shine a light on these things and to talk about it. And the whole Student Ambassador Network is to come alongside you and support you to make a difference in your own communities, because every action we take, you know, that makes a huge difference, whether it's local, national, or global. You know, this is such a big problem in the world, and we've got to do something about it. We've got to talk about it. We've got to get it out in the open. Sorry, I'm just trying to read. There's another question coming up from Exin. Given the human trafficking exploitation is very much a transboundary problem. Sorry, that's gone from my screen. Can you?
Yes, given that human trafficking or exploitation is a very much transboundary problem, what can international or intergovernmental organizations do better to enhance cooperation between states?
Okay, so many of the states are signed up to the Palermo Protocol. And they will have human trafficking task force. Something else that actually we're working on is a global advocacy program called Common Protect. So through our research, we've discovered that of the 53 Commonwealth states, only 10 have sufficient extraterritorial legislation. So what extraterritorial legislation means is that if a perpetrator goes abroad and commits a crime, and then comes back to their home country, they can actually be prosecuted and brought to justice. So we're working with the Commonwealth Foundation to work, and Commonwealth ambassadors and heads of states, to ensure that extraterritorial legislation is enacted in all the Commonwealth countries. So that's another work stream that we're working on. So, you know, there's lots of transnational support and work. Excellent. I just really encourage you all to, as Hannah said, to find out more, to share what you learn from it. And again, if you suspect anything suspicious, go with your gut instinct and report it, because you could help prevent a potential victim from becoming exploited. I'm really sorry that I haven't been able to be online, and it's we've had technical issues, but I hope that you've learned something from this session. And, you know, please go to itsapenalty.org and the reporting mechanism and have a look there. And also you can look at the Student Ambassador Network as well. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Philippa. And thank you, everyone.